What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets Podcast. In this business breakthrough episode, I'm joined with Josh from Ottawa Quality Painting up in Canada. And it's great for us here in the States to see the similarities that other contractors deal with in Canada. And in this specific episode, we're talking about workmanship. We're talking about people that promise us high standards, promise us experience. We wind up, giving them the world in terms of all the resources they would need to be successful, and then they let us down. And now we're in a position where, we're at the mercy of the people that we brought in. And what we talk about in this episode is so important. It's about having confidence in recruiting, confidence in hiring, confidence in being able to confidently know that anyone can be replaced if they drop the standard. It's a matter of protecting the brand, and that's what we discuss in this breakthrough series. I'm excited for you to jump in. So here we go. We're going to start it now. Tune in. The big question you need to ask yourself every day is, do I own a job or do I own a business? And unfortunately, the majority of contractors out there own a job. That's right. They're a slave to their own business. But the other side of the fence is so much greener. It's so much better. And that's when you're finally fully in control of your destiny, your freedom, your time. And that's what Contractor Secrets is about. It's about taking back our time, building a business with systems, standards, values, procedures, putting yourself in the driver's seat. And that's what it's about. So I'm excited. I'm happy to have you here. Let's dive into the Contractor Secrets podcast. Let's make it happen.
That's what I'm here for.
Welcome to the business breakthrough. I'm here with the head honcho, Josh of Ottawa Quality Painting in Canada. Him and I go back about a year and a half. I kind of know a little bit about his business, but things have changed. He just informed me he's hitting some big numbers. So usually kind of want to just get a synopsis of really the best thing about what's going on in your business, in terms of what's working really well. And then what's the absolute bottleneck, man? So go ahead, take it away.
So, we've had a lot of growth over the last year. So business coming in is not so much the issue for us. What I'm finding is a big kind of bottleneck in my business is finding good people.
Okay.
And also managing people. Like, I have no problem putting people on the right job sites and kind of moving them around as I need to get deadlines fulfilled. But kind of, I guess the managerial side is of writing people up whenever things happen, whenever there's issues and things like that. I'm not 100% sure how to deal with that in a lot of scenarios. Just those kinds of things, like finding quality people, and holding on to them and
holding on and managing. Now, did you ever have any management experience before?
So that's it. Not really. I've kind of just jumped into it and hired people and kind of done the best I can. What I find is I'm too nice of a guy, and in a lot of scenarios, somebody will screw something up or whatever, and I need a way to kind of, I don't know, show them that that's not something that they can do, but kind of help them correct that behavior in the future as well.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you that a lot of this comes from the problem. It's kind of like, I actually just got done doing a huge segment on taking jobs that aren't your niche job because you're not confident in your marketing to get your niche job.
Yep.
And that leads to kind of just randomness, no predictability. You're kind of at the mercy of your customer.
Absolutely.
Well, in the same way, when you don't have confidence in your hiring process, when you don't have confidence in your ability to bring in quality people, that leaves you at the mercy of the people that you do have. So it's not that you're too nice of a person. There's no way you're a pushover. But at the end of the day, you recognize that you need them right now more than they need you. And when it's the other way around, then you have a business that is independent of whether or not somebody does a good job, because ultimately you can easily find a replacement if the habit continues. But right now it sounds like, just because this is the topic of conversation, you're at a point now where you really don't really know how to get consistent people. And so there's guys that maybe have been with you for a while who are kind of taking advantage of your kindness a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. And I found I implemented the system that you taught me there with making a Google form. So that you can compare candidates directly rather than just getting a bunch of emails saying, hey, I can paint, hire me. Which that was amazing. So it really helped me kind of compare the candidates. And I haven't fully implemented the kind of on the phone interviews and in-person interviews and all that kind of stuff. But Something that I struggled with is bringing people on at too high of a wage. So like you speak to them about what they've been getting paid in the past or whatever, and then
Okay.
you bring them on at that, and they have all these promises for you, and then nobody's going to take a pay cut, right? So
Sure.
you're stuck with these
Sure.
employees who are underperforming how they sold themselves, I guess, and they're at
Yeah.
too high of a wage.
Well, part of if you did what I told you, which was, and I think I remember you texting me, said it worked great. You put out the ad, then you funneled them into a Google form, and
Yep.
for those of you watching, listening, the form is essentially just a central location for you to review and really ask like job-based questions and things like that. So it's more than just like all these random, application stuff. But you only did 20%,
Yeah.
and what you're telling me, like one of the main issues is being over promising pay and then not really getting what they deserve. Like we have checks and balances for that. Like you got to have an insurance policy, after you hire somebody. So let me break down the process for those
Yeah.
listening. And then for you to, as a refresher, first thing, the appealing ad, you're going to get exactly what you put out. There's a lot of dating apps now. If you just put looking for a girl, what is that? At the end of the day, it's pretty broad. And a lot of us say looking for a painter, right? So it's like you gotta narrow down which one. I'm looking for somebody with a great attitude. I'm looking for somebody that wants to grow with a company that actually cares about their employees. I'm looking for somebody that has a valid driver's license and takes pride in what they do. Like the more that you put, really the idea is not just to attract the right candidates, is actually to repel the wrong candidates. Does that make sense? At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. Is if somebody sees all those things, oh my God, I'm not even going to apply to this place because I don't have a shot. And
Yeah.
ultimately is, maybe they'll get to a place in their life where they can have a shot, but right now it's not that time. So for you, you got to make sure you're funneling in the right people. Now, if somebody actually takes that step, goes to the form, they've passed the first tier of hiring. Okay. So now you have, people in this form that are, potentials. These are people that actually deserve a little bit of your time. Now, if you see 2 or 3 people that, intrigue you, maybe they're not like off the charts exciting, it's good to send that email. Hey, reviewed your application. We'd like to, let you know that we're going to, invite you to the next step of our hiring process, which is that phone interview. Now, just by you saying that raises the standard, right? Just say, hey, we have a hiring process. This isn't like all the other painting companies or landscaping companies you've worked for where, you just get to start the next day. That's not how this works. And it's not like that, right? Because it raises the standard, because ultimately we're fighting for good people just as much as anyone else. We want good people, and good people with, with responsibilities. Most of them have families. They're attracted to this because when you put processes in place, all they're thinking is stability. And that's what employees look for, is stability. And they want some place that has a little bit more than the next job where they feel like they're going to lose that job. So what do? They raise their own standards. So we set that tone early on. So as that phone interview goes, really you're just feeling out personality, you're feeling out enthusiasm, you're listening. If it's 1 o'clock and they're answering the phone like they just woke up, probably not the best candidate for you. So these are things that you need to be kind of thinking about during that phone interview. So, if somebody's lucky enough to make it through that phone interview, okay, that's when we invite them to the in-person interview. This process is so important to go all the way through, because by you stopping at 20%, you're not giving yourself a chance to wean out people that wouldn't have made it to that phone interview, wouldn't have made it past that in-person interview, right? So we're at the in-person interview. I'm not going to dive too much into that. Bunch of questions need to be asked. You're looking for punctuality. You're looking for, you're looking for, really, unfortunately, the way things are, appearance, not necessarily looks, but, if you come smelling like, you haven't showered, our customers are going to obviously notice that, and that's not going to be a good look. You can be great on paper, but these are some intangibles that we need to address. Then last but not least, if this person actually gets to the point where you're feeling good about them, you've canvassed well, you've done the social media check, which I failed to mention, but that's definitely important. Okay, you've done all these things. Now we talk about money. And really, everyone has an idea. And majority of the time, if you ask somebody what they're expecting to get paid, usually they're modest because they don't want to knock themselves out of the ballpark. And if somebody's qualified in terms of what they say, like we just discussed, they're qualified to get the rate that they're saying, we give it to them, but not without a working interview. And that's what you're missing, is that working interview. That's a 1 week working interview. I have someone right now who just started, made it through that entire process that I just told you. Okay. We gave him a working interview. Okay. Day one, I got with my crew leader, got with my supervisor, or project manager, supervisor. And the consensus right now is this guy is as slow as a snail.
Yeah.
Okay. I was told by this person that he had owned his own quote unquote painting business, which was him and a brush, but that's cool. You paint a house by yourself.
Yeah,
fine. Sure. But the consensus right now is that he's slow. So I have an insurance policy that Friday he knows I'm calling.
Yeah.
And he knows that I told him straight up, hey, you are not guaranteed employment. Friday, we will discuss if you're a good fit for us. And that's it. So if the behavior continues, and also I'm at a discounted wage this week. I'm not paying top dollar this week.
No. Yeah, exactly.
So I think we're at $10 an hour.
Wow.
A week.
Okay.
Training.
Awesome.
It's more than minimum wage. I mean, I'm not I'm not hurting anybody. So hopefully that kind of opened up your eyes a little bit to kind of how important that process is.
Yeah, for sure. Like I've implemented a lot of the stuff that you've taught me in the past, like making my business stand out as opposed to others. So I've gotten full payroll set up, which is one huge thing that I really wanted to get done.
Who did you go with?
WagePoint.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's only Canada, right? It's the Canadian Gusto.
I'm not 100% sure. I think so, though. I brought on a bookkeeper full time, so he handles all of that kind of stuff, which has really taken a lot off my plate as well. But yeah, next thing is benefits, so that's something I really want to implement as well. But yeah, I guess my whole.
How do benefits work up in Canada? You guys got free health insurance?
Yeah, we have health insurance, but dental is extra, vision care is extra, things like that. Pills cost money, like any medication and stuff. So. Benefits in Canada cover a percentage of the cost for those. So like if you go in for a dentist appointment and it's $250, you'll only have to pay $20 and the benefit covers the rest. Kind of thing.
Got it. Yeah.
And it's generally like a monthly amount that you pay per employee.
That must be nice.
Benefits. It's between probably $80 to $150 depending on what you go with.
Wow.
So it's not all that much, but yeah, it's something that could really add value, I think.
I believe it.
Yeah, I think my main question is, what do you talk about on the phone interview, and what do you touched on a few things like experience and like punctuality and stuff in the in-person interview, but I find myself when I meet with somebody, I don't have all that much to speak to them about. Like it only lasts maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and I don't really see how I could fit in like a phone interview and an in-person interview and have productive things to say.
Yeah. I mean, think about it this way. When you go to an estimate, do you not have productive things to say?
No.
Yeah, of course not. And it's really because it's like you have to plan, and for me, you have to know what you're looking for, first of all. So again, I just rattled off a couple of things that I'm looking for. Number one, how are they answering the phone?
Yeah.
That's number one. I'm not real the phone interview is to make sure this is a decent enough person for me to actually get in the car and drive to a central location and sit down with. I can tell off the bat, if you've done a couple phone interviews, who is going to be a good candidate. It's enthusiasm, it's excitement, it's, hey, this is John. Okay, great. Yeah. And then really what I'm doing is I'm the one talking the most, because the in-person interview is more to get to know them and their experience. I'll hit on that. So I'll go, hey, John, I reviewed your application, man. Says here that you've got some painting experience. I saw that you're working at, Joe's place. What's the reason that you want to leave? And then that's an open door to see what's really going on. And then unfortunately, some people are telling themselves to be like, oh, well, they kind of, they won't pay me what I want. So I can tell he's just about money, and it's like, okay, so I'm already writing him off. I'll cut that off real quick. The conversation and say, all right, man, well, yeah, so we're just going to call a couple people and, move on, but some people say, oh, really? I mean, to be honest, I feel like I work real hard. The boss promised me a raise. And, as much as I really like working there, I'm looking to maybe get to a step above, and I saw that you guys were hiring, and I wanted to try to see if I could find somewhere else work. Cool. He passes that test. And then really I'm going to say, okay, well, let me tell you a little bit about us. This is what we do. This is how we do it. This is what you're expected if we decide to hire you, and everything's hypothetical throughout, the phone interview, the in-person interview, if we decide to move forward with you, if there's no guarantee at all ever. Yeah. So, and that kind of protects us because we don't
Yeah.
want to have to give people money that they don't. And now you're in a position where you have to fire somebody, and that's hard for people like us who value people and
Yeah,
know that it
absolutely.
puts them in a bad position. So, with that being said, like it's more so when we get back to the conversation, what do I say? My biggest suggestion to you would be to really just keep the phone interview short, concise, and sweet. Really, it doesn't have to be anything that's more than just general information. Just tell me, read their resume,
Yeah.
ask questions about their experience, and then next would be tell them about your company. Hey, does all that sound good? Awesome. Well, and then if you're getting a good feeling, which you will, you do this enough, you're going to know who. I mean, there was a guy I talked to for 60 seconds before I ended it.
Nice.
And I just, but you'll get a feel for it. And then that's when you invite them to the in-person interview, have that date in the back of your mind. Try, don't like, oh, well, let me see if I can fit you in. Like, know that Thursday at 2, you got some availability, which is just like a customer.
Yeah.
It's like the same level of like, boom, 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 boom. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think the working interview is the key piece there because, I mean, somebody can promise you the world and show up and not perform the way that they say they are, right? So,
Right.
Yeah, that's a big one too. And especially having that day at the end of the week where you touch base and you actually meet with them and discuss all of the progress, because you can say, oh, I'll take you on at like a starting wage or whatever, but if there isn't that day at the end of the week when you touch base and really cover like and speak about everything that's been going on, there's not really a point in it. So yeah, that's very valuable.
Sure. I mean, and ultimately what it also does is it creates a little bit of authority in whoever's managing the job, because ultimately you're getting with them. Hey, what do you think about this guy? Do you want him on your team? And it's like you're kind of giving them the ability to say yes or no, because ultimately they're the ones that are with them every day.
Yeah. And that's awesome. Like you suggested bringing on a supervisor, and so I did. I promoted one of my guys to that supervisory role, and it's made my life a hell of a lot easier. Like he manages the teams, and he's my point of contact rather than getting 5 or 6 different calls all at the same time. Getting one from him, and he's really holding everybody accountable. So yeah, that's been really great.
That's the most important part of your business, is that person that you trust to handle touch-ups and handle the guys and and all this. So he's, I would even may even go as far as, later down the line, letting him do the in-person interview, letting him, facilitate this whole thing, and then getting back to you. I have an employee that I've never met before yet still.
That's
and I'm okay with that. I don't need to meet him, and not that I don't want to, but it's more so I got the guys tell me he does a great job. I call him on the phone. We talk on the phone, but we're just at a point. He's been with us for a month, and he's been doing great. So,
awesome.
The process is designed to give you the best possible result. Now, with what I'm experiencing now, I have that insurance policy. If this week continues and I still get that feedback with the guy, it was his first day, so maybe a little nervous, adjusting, but you know how it is, man. You might have to make the decision. So, but so you got 2 teams right now.
Yeah, I do. So I have one team of 3, and then I have myself and 1 or 2, depending on like the part-time guys and when they're working, doing kind of other stuff at the same time.
So, okay, cool. So how many employees total?
So we've got 3 full-time and then 2 part-time.
Okay, what's the guy that's giving you trouble? What does he do?
He is one of my full-time guys. I brought him on as a professional painter, so he ran his father's company for quite a while.
Okay.
And so he promised me, he was like, yeah, listen, I've been doing this for so long. I'm going to get as much done as 2 of your new guys could get done.
He's got an ego.
Yeah, exactly. And he was asking for like a decent amount of money.
What is bothering you about this guy?
So, he's not that quick.
Okay.
First of all, and then also like there's things that he does that shouldn't be coming from somebody who's at that pay rate. So we were painting a house, and I hear from my supervisor that he's not using a drop sheet anywhere. So I told my supervisor, well, tell him to use a drop sheet, and if he doesn't use a drop sheet, send him home, right? So anyways, I show up on the job site a couple days later, and I'm looking around, and there's drips, like small little tiny speckled drops all around, like the perimeter everywhere. So I called him up and I was like, this is unacceptable. Like, it's embarrassing. The clients have all weekend to see this now, and like we don't have time to clean it up until Monday. So, anyways, he went in on Monday, and after hours on his own time, he cleaned it all up, used like this special spray, and it came up. But it's something that I shouldn't have to think about or
Sure.
put that effort in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To deal with
Yeah.
that kind of problem from him specifically.
Yeah.
And then last week I had him on a job where he was doing top cuts in a new construction. So you need to be pretty detailed and like make a really nice line because you're creating that line there on the top.
Yeah.
And they were wobbly like all over the place. I had to send my supervisor in to recut the entire tops pretty much.
Is he the highest paid on your team?
Yeah, yeah.
How long has he been with you?
Maybe like a month and a half or
Yeah.
so. So like right now I'm at a point where I'm thinking of like I'm probably gonna have to let him go. But
Yeah. I mean, you know the answer. I was gonna say, dude, he's got to fly.
He's got to go, yeah, for sure. Like
Yeah.
at the end of this week,
Fly.
I think I'm gonna.
Yeah, if you got to finish up with like a job because it'll hurt you. Like, but that's good that we're having this conversation. So let's talk about where to get. Like, first of all, yeah, let him go. Like before like December because Christmas.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know?
For sure.
But that's obviously. But now like, so what's the lowest paid guy you got right now?
$16 an hour.
16.
So our minimum
like
wage is 15, so 16 is a buck over minimum.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. So I'm trying to understand the dynamic. So you have this one guy who would work. Did he work along two other people, or did he work with one other person?
The guy who's getting paid, like the guy we were just speaking about. So
the guy who's stealing from you.
Yeah, so sometimes I have him, like he's worthwhile on my team when I send him to do single day jobs. So like I'll have a job where we paint 7 doors or whatever. I'll send him in, he'll paint the 7 doors, everything's great, works perfect, and I make a decent profit because I'm charging like a decent amount to paint those doors. Right? But he's less valuable to me on a team, and that's what I'm finding is like
I could tell off the bat with that sort of attitude, and that's something that you would filter out. Like that's something that if I hear, oh, I can paint better than this, and like there's a thing with painters, dude, that they come with, the majority of them, they come with this ego, especially guys that like it's like a competition for them. And if you're the type of business that's trying to put together teams, you do not need anyone with that sort of attitude, bro. Because
and that's something that I've learned. Like now that I've seen it, I understand that now.
You want guys that are willing to teach the trade to anyone that wants to listen, that's open to sharing knowledge, that is okay with learning how to run a job. Because the guys that do that, they want to do everything and they don't want to help others and navigate like how to get the job done as a whole. They're used to just like, you know how the horses who race, they have those things like those narrow vision goggles. That's kind of how it is. And when you put somebody like that in charge, you're going to get sporadic results. Again, no predictability.
No, I agree. That's a very good that's a very good observation because I've had probably 5 guys come in and out throughout the summer. And I've had a couple with that very cocky attitude, always want more money. And you're right, they don't work well in a team setting. They do their own thing, but even then, like they're unreliable. But the tough thing with this guy that we're talking about is that he shows up on time every day, great attitude, like everything about him's good except for like one, what I'm paying him, and second of all, like he's making mistakes that he just simply shouldn't be making.
Well, the good news is that you can learn from this, and I've learned a lot going forward, like who I want to bring on. And I look at it like that. You know, ultimately, this guy's the type of guy. He's not going to be, shaking the can for change. He's a guy that'll find work. He'll do his own gig. He'll be fine. But for you, looking at the dynamic of the company, it's also important for your supervisor to have people underneath him that respect him and listen to him, as opposed to people that give him backlash and tell him that, because that's probably what's happening. He's not like he can't really reprimand this guy because he's not the owner.
No, and that's it. It's
and the guy knows that. And he's like, dude, leave me alone. Like,
absolutely.
So you create the culture. Like you set the tone for the culture, and like you have got to filter these people out. And I would say that like after we get off this call, you need to put out an ad on whatever your Canada version of Craigslist is. And then do you guys have Indeed up there?
So I've used Indeed. One that I found was really good actually is ZipRecruiter. Believe it or not, they're great. So they actually give you the option to invite candidates to apply to the position. And so like they find people who are well matched for the position, and you can actually invite them. And I've had great success through that.
So, the goal is like at the end of the day, and I compare like all these aspects of business have the same laws attached to them, right? So hiring is its own world, sales is its own world, marketing is its own world. So you think like if I do 10 estimates,
Yeah.
how many jobs can I sell at 10 estimates? And the answer would be whatever your closing ratio is. Let's say it's 40%. So, in order to sell 4 jobs, you need to do 10 estimates, right?
Yep.
So the same thing goes with marketing. If I spend $1,000, how many leads am I going to get? Okay, I'm going to get 10 leads. Cool. So I know that I need to spend $1,000 to get 10 leads. Okay. Now it's with hiring. How many interviews do I need to do to get to my perfect candidate? And it's like if you're just doing 1 or 2 phone interviews and you settle, you're going to run into this issue. Hiring is the best investment of your time that you can make, because ultimately that is what gives you peace of mind. When you know that you have quality people out in the field, there's a couple things that happen. Number one, you're less stressed. Number two, you can actually build off of that strong foundation. You have this wild card running amok in your business, dude. He's like a tornado, and you probably lose sleep because this guy's taking money from you. And it's stressful, and you're not in business to be that way, especially with that kind of pay. For somebody, right? And he's laughing his way to the bar. So, at the end of the day, when it comes down to hiring, it's like this is the investment that you need to make. You're going to be able to sell more confidently. I know for a fact when you go to a job or an estimate and you know that you got to give this job to the guy, you're always a little apprehensive. You're not as confident as you should be because you don't trust in the production as much as you should. You're like, you got nice carpets, and in the back of your head, you're thinking, I don't know if he's going to put down a drop on these things. How much do they cost? Am I going to have to replace them if this idiot doesn't do this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's true. It really it takes so much mental energy just having that person on your team.
And that's part of the reason why you and I are talking, which is great, because I hope that I can open your eyes to the importance of going through this process. And a lot of people who listen to these on the podcast and all the other places I put it, it's really important. This process it guarantees a very, very good result. Now, we just stopped at the working interview. If you want to do a background check, you can. That's free. You know what I'm saying? Like, how deep do you want to go? You could do a 2-week working interview. You can do a 30-day probationary period. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to find the perfect applicant, bro.
That's it.
And that's your job. Like, if you're not in the field as much as you used to be because your supervisor's doing a lot of this stuff, you should be focused on administration, hiring, and then pushing out the estimates.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And like what you said about like continuing to hire, I think is very valuable, because that's what I've been doing. Is I'll do a couple of interviews, I'll hire 1 or 2 people, and then I'll leave it. Yeah. And that's how I get stuck with these people who are driving me absolutely nuts.
I would hire, like, if you're trying to replace this guy, I would hire 2 people. To try out.
Yeah, see, it makes a lot of sense to me, and that's I think I'll apply that, and that'll make a difference.
Have them try out, but ultimately, you being a nice guy and stuff, like, it's up to you if you wait to let this guy go. But I mean, you're probably gonna feel so much better.
Oh man,
have so much more clarity. Like, even if you call this guy tonight and say, "Look, man, this just isn't working. I have to move in a different direction." You might be off this week a little bit in terms of your production, but you'll be able to think a lot clearer. So I say, if it were me, I'd let him go today.
For sure. Yeah. And like, it's not just the quality of work too. It's the pay. Like, that's the toughest thing, is like, I'm seeing my bank account come down every time that I'm paying this guy. And I know it's
making $1,000 a week about.
Yeah.
And then it comes in after hours and cleans up, and you pay him.
I know. Ridiculous.
They just clock in. I know what it is, dude. I know how you want to be a good boss. I'm the same way. I had to go through my share of getting taken advantage of. I'm just coming to you from somebody. I've been through it, where I've been in the same position where you have these people that you invest your time into. You want them to work out. But I tell everyone, you cannot train character, bro.
No,
character is something that the person has to have before they get to you. You can train someone to paint. You can't train them to have character.
No. And that's what I've found. Like, I've had really good success bringing on people who have absolutely no painting experience, just because of their character, and training them from start.
Willingness to learn, willingness to follow directions, and treat your company with respect. This guy came from owning his own gig. So to him, the $30 is nothing. Okay, because he knows he can paint a house by himself and make 2 grand in a week, and that's just his mentality. Usually that's what they come with, but he doesn't understand that you're providing work for him, you're providing materials, you're providing all this stuff, and he just gets to clock in and clock out. So it's not just like he's doing you a favor by being there. You're doing just as much of a service to him.
Yeah.
And that 25. So what I would do is, in terms of money, if there's somebody on your team that is pumping, that deserves a raise, well, now you have some money to play with, and you should give somebody a raise.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like he's also seeded into some of my other employees that like there should be bonuses for performance and stuff. Like he's been talking about so many like.
Dude, get off it. We gotta go. You gotta call this guy.
Yeah, I need to. I know for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, dude, we're gonna catch up again, I'm sure, and I'm excited for you. Please reach out to me. You know what it is, man. If you want to jump on again, I'm happy to.
Absolutely.
And then it comes in after hours and cleans up, and you pay him.
I know, ridiculous.
Dude, just clock in. I know what it is, dude. I know how you want to be a good boss. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I had to go through my share of getting taken advantage of. I'm just coming to you from somebody. I've been through it, where I've been in the same position where you have these people that you invest your time into. You want them to work out, but I tell everyone, you cannot train character, bro.
No,
character is something that the person has to have before they get to you. You can train someone to paint. You can't train them to have character.
No, and that's what I've found. Like I've had really good success bringing on people who have absolutely no painting experience just because of their character and training them from start.
Willingness to learn, willingness to follow directions and treat your company with respect. This guy came from owning his own gig.
Yeah.
So to him, the $30 is nothing. Okay. Because he knows he can paint a house by himself and make 2 grand in a week. And, that's just his mentality. Usually that's what they come with, but he doesn't understand that you're providing work for him. You're providing materials, you're providing all this stuff, and he just gets to clock in and clock out. So it's not just like he's doing you a favor by being there. You're doing just as much of a service to him.
Yeah.
And that 25. So what I would do is, in terms of money, if there's somebody on your team that is pumping, that deserves a raise, well, now you have some money to play with, and you should give somebody a raise.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. And it's like he's also seeded into some of my other employees that like there should be bonuses for performance and stuff. Like he's been talking about so many like.
Dude, get off it. We gotta go. You gotta call this guy.
Yeah, I need to. I know for sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, dude, we're gonna catch up again, I'm sure, and I'm excited for you. Please reach out to me. You know what it is, man. If you want to jump on again, I'm happy to.
Absolutely.
Hey, I really hope you enjoyed the Breakthrough series. Hey, if you're interested in jumping in and allowing me to dive in and help you break down some barriers in your own business, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the next Breakthrough series session where we will dive in. We will figure out what's going on in your business. I will give you actionable advice, and you'll be able to use that advice and take your business to the next level. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me on Instagram. However you need to reach out to me, find me, and we will set up a time for me to coach you through the barriers stopping you from growth.